If you're giving it to the on-post housing, there's no chance you're ever going to get your money back. They're just going to take it and go with it. If you buy your home, you at least have a chance to get some of the money that you've worked for back into your pocket.
Welcome, everyone, to the Closing Table podcast brought to you by Windowsill. I am your host, Kat Schooler. Thank you all for joining me today. I am so happy to be here with Whitney Preston of Cramer, Preston Williams Real Estate. You are operating in the Southern Georgia area. How you doing today, Whitney?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you so much for joining with me. Let's just jump right into your journey. How did you get started in real estate?
Well, I actually thought that I had a bad builder, but after I got into the job, I realized that I didn't. I just bought from too far away across the country. So, um, I just saw an opportunity. I stay-at-home mom with two really little kids, and then one a little bit older but still young. And I thought that it would be something that I could, still be a mom and still go to work because I'm definitely not a stay-at-home mom.
Right.
Not love my children, but I wanted them to have a good example and somebody that they could see work as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, everybody thinks kind of, I've had times where, I've not worked for stretches and it seems great until
Yeah,
until you're
exactly.
like, I could be doing so many things. Um, that's so fun. So you are a military relocation specialist, yes?
Yes, I focus primarily on VA loans.
Okay. Let's go deeper into that. Tell me what that means for you.
So I started this whole journey because, again, it goes back to what the question you just asked me. We were a military family, and I needed a job that could move along with my family. And as I said before, I thought that I had a bad realtor in the beginning, but it's really hard to buy a home from across the country. So I just took a bunch of classes and done a lot of extra education to make just the buying process a whole lot easier. So I could have the tools to help the people that are coming from Alaska to Georgia. I'm really popular overseas for some reason. Like Korea to Georgia. Somebody who's never seen the area at all, kind of give them a little piece of what they're getting into before they make that decision.
And how can you, like, what more do you do for them? Because I mean, so I actually lived in Atlanta for a while, and when I moved from Michigan to Atlanta, right, I rented an apartment just based off of photos on a website, which I would never do again. But but these your clients are not in a position necessarily to tour the home. So, how do you help them? Do you do a lot of video? Do you, I don't know, FaceTime with them, and walk through homes? Like how is that interaction?
Well, video is the most important thing because if you try to FaceTime them, honestly, the quality of the video is not great. And they always have something to go back to reference if they have the videos. But a lot of things that people overlook, it's like the area, the neighborhood. You have to get really familiar with what's popular, what a lot of military families like. Um, just trying to give them the whole picture of what they're buying, not just what's in beside the walls. I've had a lot of people complain about how they didn't know the way their backyard was shaped, or before they came to me, but they just didn't know a lot of things before they bought, and it's a hard pill to swallow to have to do that because a lot of times you don't have another option. You know, Traveling is expensive. Getting leave to come here is expensive. Lots of videos, lots of talking, having very good relationships with very thorough inspectors, letting them know that there's other options like home warranties and, just other kinds of inspector, mold, roof, whatever the case may be. Just having those ends in those places have been really beneficial for the people that I work for.
Would you say working with military clients, you are a little more hands-on then?
Oh yeah, you have to be, you know, and it's not just that the people that are away and have to come without seeing. Some people decide to buy after like a year here and they don't know what the rental the rental market might be what they leave, what the resale market might be when they leave. It's very important to try to get them again to see the whole picture of what they're buying, not just what's inside the home.
Very cool. Yeah. And in your area, you're by an airfield, right?
So we have Fort Stewart, which is not an airfield, but
Okay.
Hunter Army Hunter Army Airfield is actually in Savannah, and it's attached to Fort Stewart.
Ah, okay. Okay. Yeah, when I was in the Atlanta area, I was very close to Dobbins. So like,
Yeah.
I kind of
Well,
get a sense for like what it's like to be near a place like that. It was actually very cool.
yeah, it's a really nice place to live. Like, he had the opportunity to read, and he chose not to. We really like it.
Oh, wow. Cool. So,
You
on that subject, what do you love most about, your area and homes in your area? And what do you love showing clients about your area?
There's a lot of homes here that still have that like old Southern charm. You know what I mean? Like the house that we bought when we came here, it still has like the big columns, all brick. It's a beautiful house, and there are some builder homes here, but a lot of times you get a lot of still the Southern charm that I think is lost in some of the newer builds.
For sure. And it's so hard, even if you're trying to kind of manufacture charm in a newer home,
Yeah,
it's not the same.
it's not. It's really not. But they're doing a good job at it. They're putting up some really nice homes.
Yeah. Do you find a lot of people in your area are looking for those kind of more charming I mean, they might not be like National Registrar historic, but like
Yeah.
older homes?
I think it's kind of even. With the military, they have to think, long term. If it's something they're going to keep or resell. So if they're thinking long term as a rental, they try to go on the newer side because newer and less problems is what people think, but that's not always the case. But
Mm,
so I'd say it's pretty even. I think it's pretty even. Now the people that are retiring here, getting out and staying here, they do like the older homes with the land and the charm.
yeah, for sure.
And
Um, what So one of the things I saw on one of your reviews is that you were able to help a client. They said when other agents weren't able to help them. When when someone comes to you like that, like what does that spark for you? Like what are you doing differently? Do you think, I mean, obviously you don't know what the previous person did, but what do you think you're doing differently that helps get clients into homes when other people haven't been able to help them?
so if I had to say like the one thing that my colleagues like criticize me about is that I'm not very professional. You would say I'm kind of just like an open book and I'm out there, and I think that my clients really like that. Like I'm the type of person whether you're really, really gonna like me or you're really, really not gonna like me because I'm not I don't beat around the bush at all. I'm very straightforward. I let them know what they have to do. They can't buy a house, so I'm just gonna be straightforward about it. And I think that's what my clients really like, and that's how I help them the most, is because I just I just don't think that, you know, beating around the bush gets us anywhere. And I'm very, you have to do this, this, and this to get to this point, or I can't help you go find somebody else. So I set up a plan long term. I've helped people for 2 years. It took them 2 years to get ready to buy. Like I didn't go anywhere. I think that's actually the beauty of residency. Is like I didn't go anywhere. I still answered all the questions. If they made a big purchase in their life, they would come to me first and ask me if like, hey, is this going to ruin our chances? Is this going to help us? And I would just give them advice.
That's awesome. I think it's important to be straightforward because it just it cuts out all the fluff, cuts out all the
Yeah,
wasted
I,
time.
I don't know. I don't know what I can say on here, but I'm going to say what I say to them all the time. Like, I'm not in the business of patting asses. I'm in the business of trying to get you a house. So, right, that's literally, if I could have a t-shirt and wear that around, that's what I would do. I say that to almost every client that I have. So, and they really like it, and they really connect with me, and they can trust me because I'm super outspoken and very, unprofessional, as some people say. Like, I let them know that my life isn't perfect either. There was a time that I didn't think that I was ever going to be able to buy a house or buy anything major because of my credit score. I was a stay-at-home mom and, didn't have much money. So I'm relatable, and I think that's what they really like.
I think that's cool that you share those kinds of things with your clients because I think especially, for young people, I think it depends on maybe what your sphere is on the internet, but I see a lot of stuff where young people feel like it's very difficult to buy a home. And, especially if you're coming to somebody and you've been able to save and you're trying to make this maybe for the first time in your life big purchase, it can be very daunting and very vulnerable.
Oh, yes. And, oh, for military especially, like, I don't want to seem like I'm like, I realize how hard the world is nowadays, but for military especially, it is so much easier to buy a home than what people think it is. The VA requires no minimum credit score. You do not have to have a credit score. We have helped people with a credit score of a 405 before, and they bought a home because circumstances are different for everybody, and the VA actually takes that into consideration because they move all the time. They, be behind on payments because they're on deployments or in the field or whatever. So as long as you have 12 months of on-time payments, we can get you into a home, no matter what your credit score is.
Wow, I wouldn't think about how difficult um being in the service and just kind of keeping up with, I don't even know, like something as basic as your credit card could be really difficult.
Uh-huh.
It's just
Yeah.
it's a whole different world for me. I do have a cousin who's in the service, but I guess it's just things I don't think about.
Yeah, a lot of times you don't even have your phone, you don't have service, or you're overseas and you have to get a different kind of service. And if an automatic payment is set up, how many times has that messed up for somebody who's not in the service? And they don't have access to that because they don't have internet as easily as what we do, or they're in the field with no service and they can't get text messages from their spouse that's like, hey, what's your password to the Capital One account? Or it's difficult for them sometimes. And even, I said previously, like 12 months of on-time payments, we've been able to do it with a couple missed payments because of something like that. Because it's there, as long as you can explain it and it can be proven, we can do it.
That's incredible. That's so cool.
Mhm.
And you know, I think it's I think it's only right that we take care of the people who are taking care of our country.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. And another saying that I have is that on post housing steals from service members. So if I can talk to these people and let them know that they are literally throwing their money away, you know, 90% of the time they purchase a house and make money when they leave. If you're giving it to the on post housing, there's no chance you're ever gonna get your money back. They're just gonna take it and go with it. If you buy your home, you at least have a chance to get some of their money that you've worked for back into your pocket.
right. Do you find a lot of your military clients are they buying and selling, or are they then maybe keeping that property as an investment property?
I would say it's right down the middle. I have a lot of people who have rented their homes out, and I have a lot who have sold. I could probably count on one hand how many I've had that's took a loss, only because they got unexpected orders or something like that, and they chose to sell other than rent it out. But I can't think of like an instance where they just had no options.
Right.
That's nice.
In some of your or well, in a lot of your Facebook posts, where you post the homes and stuff like that, I often see, or at least in the past, that you've like a highlighting like, this home doesn't have an HOA and things like that. And um maybe people don't know a lot about HOAs other than it can sometimes cost a lot of money. Um what would you say are like the pros and cons of living in a place that has an HOA fee?
A lot of people are looking for no HOA, but I have to say around here we're pretty lucky with how HOAs are ran. they're not too terribly expensive unless you buy into like a gated community or something like that. But pros wise, like for me, I don't live in an HOA because I have so many drivers in my house. We have so many vehicles and we have to have a place to park them. We've got to have a little bit of land. Um, and that's a lot with my clients as well, because if we've got kids that can drive or they have family that come in to visit that need to park their campers, RVs, boats, whatever they bring, because we're right on the coast. Um, I have a lot of people that grew up in farmland and they want farm animals. With an HOA, you can't have that. One of the clients I helped last night, they bought 4 houses with me over the past 4 years, and she just really wanted to buy goats. Like that's what she wanted. She wanted goats and chickens. So she wanted out of her HOA, which she originally wanted. She wanted an HOA that had a pool, like a place where they could go swimming and a playground and stuff like that. And she's very wanted to buy she's very worried about farm animals. So I guess it's just different for each person. You know, there's a lot of there's a lot of pros and cons for each. I've had some people that come and say we want an HOA because they do kind of regulate the cleanliness of the yards and things like that. But it's just it depends on each family.
Totally, totally. And then um also with your clients, are you kind of noticing any like trends, as we're kind of coming out of a very well, we're still kind of in a very like up and down time within real estate.
Oh yeah, we're still in that. Not really any trends, I would say. We're pretty lucky around here where the sellers were still helping with closing costs and things that would be detrimental to other buyers. So we're not having a lot of trends. I've had a lot of people want land lately. More than a quarter of an acre or something like that. But it stayed pretty consistent. We're pretty lucky around here. I obviously wasn't doing real estate during the crash, but people that were have expressed how we were still kind of lucky around here that we stay pretty consistent because we do have both military bases around us and they still have the access to that VA loan.
Right, right. I imagine that would keep a consistent flow of people in your market.
Mm-hmm.
Now, our photographer that put us in touch said that you're kind of like blowing up in these past like 6 months. Would you agree?
I think I'm getting a lot more sellers lately, and that's just because I was pretty lucky when I got into the business. I had a lot of buyers really fast, and I think that it's that time because their average time on station is around 3 years. So it's getting to that time where they're all leaving or renting and selling. So the past 6 months, I have done pretty well on the selling side. I've stayed pretty consistent on the buying side as well. So, I'm thankful to everyone because I did get in it. It was right before the craziness of COVID, so I got to experience what a normal market is like. And then I got to experience the boom. And now I'm getting to experience what a harder market is like. So I don't think I've really blown up, but on the seller side, I most definitely have done more.
Well, that's very cool. And I mean, I'm glad your business is going well. And at least our
Yeah.
photographer thinks you're blowing up. So, you know,
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the compliment. He's one of the good ones for sure.
oh, yeah, he's great. He's
Yeah.
great. What are some of your favorite client stories? It sounds like you've helped so many people, I could only imagine what it's like to be moving all the time as someone in the military. But do you have any favorite client stories?
Oh yeah, I have my favorite clients, and I also tell everybody this, are the ones with new babies.
Oh.
So a lot of the time, if they have a new baby, they're doing the job themselves. I'm holding the baby and they're walking the house. That's that's my favorite clients. If I had to say what my favorite clients were, um, but I've seen people of all walks of life. Like I had some that only wanted to see houses at night under a full moon because of her religion. I asked no questions. I just did it. And then I've had some messy divorces where the house wasn't exactly in the best shape after the wife or the husband got the news. Um, each one's a rod for me. Each one becomes a little bit of my friend, and I could tell a story about everyone that I've helped. I've had some really good friendships come out of my job, and I'm super thankful for that.
That's awesome. Do you have any like things that stick out as like things that surprised you along the way? Like maybe like a joyous surprise?
Well, yeah, because when I first started this, I said that I got in right before the big boom, and you know how lenders raised their credit scores, and it was difficult to get some of these military buyers. We went from 580 as a minimum to 620, and that was really like detrimental to a lot of people that I was helping at the time. But I just so happened to come across a lender that does this credit, um, that I was talking about, and I got to help like three families in like one day figure out like a place to live because they were living on post in the hotels because they just got here, thought they were going to be able to get pre-approved, because of their credit score. That's one of the most joyous times I've had, was that because I got to help three families in one day figure out where they were going to live because they were just so beaten and didn't know what they were going to do. Because I don't know if you realize what happened when COVID happened with the military is they put stop orders on everybody. They couldn't leave. They couldn't, like, if they had already given up their house or their lease or sold, like, it didn't matter. They had to stay there, figure out somewhere to go. So helping those people through that time was probably one of my favorite things that I've done.
Wow. Oh, I'm so glad you were able to help them.
Yeah, it was a hard pill to swallow, because they just didn't know what they were going to do, and nobody had any options. I will give myself a little bit of credit here. I had to branch out of our market, out of our Georgia market, and I ended up finding a lender out of Colorado that was able to help these people. And then I kind of brought them to the area, and they kind of blew up here, and now everybody has their information, and now lots of other families are getting to help. But I will give myself the credit of going out and finding them and bringing them more.
Wow. So that's incredible. What like where do you get this kind of like drive from, or like what keeps you from giving up on a situation when it kind of seems like helpless,
Yeah, well, at that time I was getting divorced and I didn't really have an option. Like, I had to find a way to make money, and I had to find a way to, get these families into home. That was my job. But now, like, I have no plan B. Like, this is all I've got going. Like, I've branched out and done a couple other things. Like, I own a cleaning company, and my husband's a contractor, and we have other ways to make money, but this is my bread and butter. So, everybody's speaking out about our newest lawsuit that's came up and things like that. Not really that, excuse me, I'm not really that worried about it because I have no plan B. I got to figure it out. Like, I just got to keep going. I've got kids to raise. So,
that's that's drive, and I think
yeah,
that's
like,
commendable. Yeah, I think it's cool that so you have a cleaning company and you said your spouse is a
mhm,
contractor. I always think that's so smart when people
mhm.
have other businesses that kind of like feed back into their business, because I'm sure you recommend to your clients, your spouse's business, and I'm sure if they need
Yeah,
cleaning, like, look, you're right
yeah.
there.
Well, I started these things because, well, like, a lot of these services are expensive. I mean, they just are. Or I would have people that would come from out of state, or we would have Stellos when I was mainly helping buyers just leave the home in crazy condition because it was back in that boom where you just took what you could get and you went on about it. And I was like, well, I've got some kids that can work, so let's just start a cleaning company. I say kids, but they're in their 20s. I've got some people that I know that can work, so let's just start a cleaning company. And I would send them in to do the cleans, and then I just kind of blew up with other builders because I was so easy, like I was so like price wise, I was very easy to work with. And then my husband got out of the military. He was like, "Well, what am I gonna do?" And I was like, "Well," and he was doing this a little bit before he got out of the military. But then I was like, people are always needing their house painted, or we have amendments to address concerns that are always needed to be done, and it just kind of worked out. It wasn't really for like the selfishness of it. I mean, money makes the world go round, but there's a lot of time that both myself and my husband have done things for free for clients because they just needed it.
What do you have like a for instance? I love stories of generosity.
you know, um, I had one client one time who their air conditioner broke 2 days after closing. And if you've ever
Mm.
been to coastal Georgia, it's not exactly a cool place to live when it comes to temperature. So I replaced their air conditioner. Um, that there's been times where, like, I have a deal going on right now with the sellers being very, very difficult about things that really do need to be replaced. They just, it's an older home with some of that charm. We really need to get some things replaced in it, and he just doesn't want to do it. So my husband's going in the week before closing and doing things like replacing the water heater and doing some report and cleaning out gutters and screwing in some toilets and things like that. Just little stuff that just really needs to be done. It's because
Wow.
they're handy to have around.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
certainly. I mean, I
Mhm.
think, gosh, that's so, oh, you're so generous. That's so valuable. And I mean, I think that's what it comes back. It comes back tenfold, even though if you can't like see it like today, that means so much for your business, I'm sure.
It comes back 100%. Like one time I had a realtor who she was selling a house and the tenant was keeping chickens inside the house. Like, yeah, I don't know. But they were just keeping them inside the house, and she every needed it cleaned before closing the next day. We went in, we did it. I actually took my 13-year-old at the time. Like it took my crew and me and my 13-year-old, just there cleaning things up before they closed the next day. And now I have pretty much all of her cleans. If she needs something, she calls me, and it just comes back tenfold. It just does.
Wow. I wouldn't want to clean up after chickens. No, thank you.
Or she had a doggy book with him, so I don't know if you can house train chickens. Somebody who cares more about the life or like the lifestyle of chickens can let me know, I guess. But it was a rough one. It really was.
Oof. Wow, wow. If you could start over today in your real estate business, knowing everything you know now, is there anything you would do differently?
Yes, I would be in a brokerage like I'm in now, 100%. I'm thankful for the brokerage that I started off with, but it was a single broker who mainly did property management, and they did not expect for me to blow up like I did. So I didn't have a lot of training. I didn't have a
Mm.
lot of, I didn't have a lot of, if I called and asked a question, I would get an answer. They weren't very versatile in their loans. They weren't very versatile. They didn't know a lot about VA at the time, and that's where I wanted to focus on. So I would definitely start in a brokerage like I am now. Like I swear I think my broker gets annoyed with me because I know the answer, but I call anyway and ask and make sure. And there's not a time that I just have a really good system around me now. Like I love my broker, I love my team, I love what we've built and how we've grown, and I like what I pay. I don't really pay a percentage. I have a flat fee, so I would definitely just change the brokerage that I went with.
That's cool. Well, I'm so glad you have it now, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't think I'll ever leave there. A lot of times people want to become a broker. I have no interest in that. I want to be an instructor, but I don't want to be a broker. So I'm good where I'm at least for a while.
That's cool. Do you have anything that you are looking forward to this year, either professionally or personally?
Um, Well, I'm trying to get my instructor's license this year. That's my goal. I am going to get my broker's license just so I can do more on the property management side. Professionally, I think that's uh, like my goals for the year is to get both of those licenses because I do have my end goal is to always has always been to open a school, open a real estate school, and be
Oh.
but then yeah, mentor like have a mentorship program. Like one of my partners, like I want to do the school, I want them to get their license, and then we would put them into the mentorship program with one of my partners, and then I think personally, just spending as much time with my kids. I just recently got married, so like my kids and my husband, like we're gonna go on vacation this year. I think me and my husband are finally gonna take a honeymoon, so I'm excited about that.
Oh, well, congratulations.
But
You definitely deserve to go on your honeymoon.
yeah,
Of course.
it was busy people, busy
Yeah.
people, and want to make the time for it. But we have 6 kids between the two of us,
Oh,
so
goodness.
it's not a it's not an easy fleet to get away for a couple weeks, but we enjoy it, so we're going to.
Well, that's so cool. Well, Whitney, thank you so much for joining me today. Where can people find you? How can they find you to work with you?
You can find me on Facebook. That's probably the best way to contact me. Either Cramer Preston Williams Real Estate Services, or you can just find my Whitney Preston Real Estate page.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you all for watching the Closing Table podcast brought to you by Windowsdale. I'm your host, Kat Schooler. If you're enjoying this podcast, please consider leaving us a review or give us that like or that comment on YouTube. It helps us find more awesome listeners like you. Thank you, everyone, and we will talk to you next time.